Good morning, everyone, and every day we rise is a great day to be alive. Welcome to the Portsmouth Coffee Talk podcast. I'm Slim Overton, and I'm here with Leah Drake Stitt, and the Colonel is still out. So it's Leah and I this morning, and
Yeah,
we're doing
you're
a hot topics. We usually do the hot topics the first of the month, but we're gonna do a few hot topics today. And I want you to, as Women's History Month ends on the 31st, that last day, which is a Monday, we're going to have three of the newest members of the Portsmouth School Board. A week ago, we had the two new members of the Portsmouth City Council. So to end out Women's History Month, we're going to have the three new, newly elected members of the school board. Now, I think how many were elected? Quite a few were elected during the last election on the school board, but most of
right.
them were incumbents. So we
Public
have three
incumbents,
new
yes.
ones. And as a matter of fact, you talk about Women's History Month. It's just one male on the school board, if I'm not mistaken, right? And that's the chairman.
No, there are two. Melvin Cotton and the chairman.
Oh yeah, I forgot about
Reverend
Melvin Cotton.
Yeah,
I
Reverend
hope he
Melvin
didn't.
Cotton.
Hope he's not watching. It's
Right.
two
Two,
males, and
all
the rest of
female.
them are females.
Mm-hmm.
And how you feel about that? You think, well, that's what the people wanted. So
That's what they wanted. And prayerfully, with the women, you're going to see a change taking place because typically women have been they're in the schools with their kids. And they know what their kids' needs are. So we have a lot of mothers of children who are currently in public school.
right,
So they are aware of what's taking place. Not saying the fathers are not, because Melvin Cotton's son is in public school as well. But
yes,
the mothers tend to be a little more engaged in the school activities of their children. So hopefully, with them having children in school, and also let's see, Jackie is an educator who has been in the
mhm.
system for over 20 years. So that's Dr. Jackie Walker. She's been an educator for over 20 years. So hopefully, through her work in the Portsmouth Public School system, as well as other systems, she can bring something new to the table for the school board this year.
And of course the other one's going to be the Honorable Arnett McSwain and the Honorable
Yes.
Letitia Sessoms.
And,
Sessoms.
and
Both of
they're
them very involved in the community
very involved
for
in the
years.
community.
So and
Exactly.
so
And Leticia brings that mental health piece, which is a crucial piece to the school board because she's actively, her business is involved in the mental health field. And, after COVID, many of our children suffered a lot of mental health issues. So I'm thinking that she can really look at those issues and hopefully bring something to the school system in reference to um, looking at the mental health of some of our children in the school system. So
yeah, and her business also deals with autism, and
autism,
it's a
exactly.
lot of autistic students that are in the regular schools because
Hmm.
you can be a function. It depends on what spectrum you're on, and
Hmm.
so that you know, it- and the mental health piece. A lot of times, that's not part of the ingredients that's put into trying to solve what's going on with our children. So
Exactly.
a lot of times that should be brought up because sometimes children have issues and that's why they act out and
Hmm. Hmm.
trying to
Hmm.
find the root causes. So looking
Yeah.
forward to talking to those ladies next week. So we want you to tune in as well. And Leah, I wanted to ask you about this too. You were on that Bloomberg study.
Hmm.
Uh, and recently they had another presentation to the city
To the commission.
council, was it?
Hmm. No, to the
And so,
crime commission. To the crime
yeah, to the
commission.
crime commission. I'm sorry.
Hmm.
So that's kind of encouraging. I think that the crime commission was set up to deal with crime directly and all the aspects of it. And it was good to see that they saw that presentation and it wasn't put on the shelf, and that will be included because that was a year long study that you all did
Yes, it was.
with a lot of different players from the community.
And we
That
really
that
engaged the public, and most importantly, we engaged the youth, gave them a voice so that they can express what they felt that their needs were, and so that we can meet their needs as well. Because so often we make decisions about what children need without first asking them, what areas of interest that they have. So hopefully, the Crime Commission will take the information presented to them by the Bloomberg study and utilize those things that they think that they can utilize and to make it come to fruition because it's just a matter now of taking those things and working within those things in order to uh, provide the necessary services to keep our young people engaged and off the
and
street.
another presentation they had was from the health department, which before that wasn't included either because
Right.
all this is something that's going to be very important in trying to figure out, what to do or how to approach the
Mm-hmm.
crime. And that health study showed a lot of the disparities. A lot of things can be related to poor health
Mm-hmm.
conditions,
Mm-hmm.
and it also pointed out certain zip codes where the
Exactly.
actual problems were as far as
Mm-hmm.
disparities in health, which
Exactly.
in those same zip codes where most of the crimes are. So all of that information is hopefully will be helpful to that commission, and we can actually see something positive come out of
Mm-hmm.
that. You know,
Mm-hmm.
so
Exactly.
I
Exactly.
just wanted to bring that up, and I wanted to bring something else up. Last Saturday, on behalf of Portsmouth Coffee Talk, I went and personally, I'm a part of this men's book club
I love
at the
that,
Printed
James.
Word um, bookstore, and we get together and we choose a book and sit down and talk about it. And what made me, what impressed me so much about our discussion, it was just four of us, that we had a recent grad from Bowie State University, a young man in there, and to get his perspective on, you know, how he read the book,
Mhm,
that was kind of refreshing. I always try to encourage, that kind of interaction
mhm,
between,
mhm.
older us and younger them, you know,
Yes.
and, it was a good mix. And I encourage everybody watching now to go on our YouTube page, Portsmouth Coffee Talk podcast YouTube page, and watch that video. And to the men out there, if you want to be a part of that, please contact me or the Printed Word Bookstore. I think it's very refreshing. It's kind of a release for the men to sit down and just talk about, and each one of us saw some different things in the book,
That's
but generally we saw the same things. And it was an
mhm, mhm.
interesting book called James. And no, it's not about me. It's
Oh,
it's
James, but that's amazing. My neighbor, well, you finish first, and then I'll tell you what I have to say. Okay,
yeah,
about
yeah. Go
James.
ahead.
Okay.
Let me. I'll show you. This is the book called James by Percival Everett, and he actually wrote a book sometime ago called Erasure, which they made a movie out of it. I can't think of the movie now, but anyway, he's a very accomplished author and a professor at I think USC. And the book is, if all of us have read Huckleberry Finn
Mhm.
or watched the movies, when we're coming up about Huckleberry Finn and his adventures. Excuse me. So it was a slave in there called Jim. So this book, James, is Jim's take on the adventures of Huckleberry Finn and how, and it's named James because most people, that was his name, but the slave owners called him Jim, and he preferred to be called James. But the reason Jim talked like a slave, James talked like an educated Negro,
Mhm. Mhm.
and but they couldn't expose themselves that they read and were learned, you know, because it could cost them their life during those times. So he had to sort of like what we call these modern days code switch. And
Mhm.
throughout the book, you can see him going back and forth when he talked to his fellow slaves because he taught them how to read and everything and how to speak and how he talked to them and how he talked to his slave owners and even Huckleberry Finn. You know, so it's
Mhm.
an interesting book. But go ahead and tell me, you heard about this?
It's amazing. Amazing you mentioned about James because yesterday my neighbor came and got me and took me to the Chrysler Museum where we heard the lecture of Joyce Scott. She is a wonderful bead maker. But anyway, I'll get to that. And mentioning James, on the way back from the going to the museum, she mentioned that she had a book that she wanted me to read, and she had
Hmm.
just completed, and that book was James.
Hmm.
And she says, "I'm gonna bring that book there so that you can read that book." She went on to tell me, just as you were saying about the code and about Huckleberry Finn and also so I too I'm not a part of your men's reading group. However, I too am looking forward to being able to read James as when she brings that book to me. So she said it was very eye-opening for her. And it was interesting coming from her because she is Caucasian and she read the book and her take on the book was interesting. So I want to read it now also to see uh, those things that you talk about and the things that she talked about to me about the book. So,
Yeah, you will enjoy it. And one thing about our conversation we had, a lot of things that we read throughout the book were relatable to what's going on
mhm,
today. You know,
yeah,
the use of the N word and things like that. So,
yes,
and to
yes.
and to get that young college student, take on it. I mean, I had to just sit back in awe sometimes, just listening to him speak. So, and I'm gonna try to get him on the show because we've been trying to get some young people and just give them a voice and hear what they have to
Hmm.
say. It's so refreshing, because they are our future. We're not gonna be around
Hmm.
forever.
Hmm.
Yeah, indeed.
But James
So, by the
also,
way, let me
go,
ask you about your grand. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
let no, go ahead. You go first.
I want to ask you, speaking of young people, I want to ask you about your granddaughter and want to see your face light up when I,
It's my heartbeat. She's
yeah.
doing well. She's in North Carolina. She's still looking to enter law school. She's working for a law children's law group out of North Carolina. She's been working
Hmm.
for them for the past year. She's done well with them. So, but she's still entertaining the idea of going to law school and doing those things that are necessary to get her ready to go to law school.
Yeah, and I brought her up because she's been a guest on our show, and I kind of like her approach, the way she's doing it. She wants to go to law school, but she's doing all these other little things to even prepare her more for law
Hmm.
school. And she'll learn the law, but then she'll come out of that with all these other experiences that she's had, and where she can hit the ground running. So
Right,
just wanted to
right, right.
just wanted to bring her up because she has been a guest on our show.
Yes, yes. So, and the focal point for that group that she's with is that they work with young people, representing young people within the school system, and young people who are wrongly charged in the criminal system. So she's had really and learning how to engage the public and get the public involved in the works of the law firm. So she's been very actively working with the public for the firm that she's with.
You
But
want to say
James,
good morning?
huh?
Go ahead.
Go
I
ahead.
was going to say good morning to Lisa Lawson, who sent us a.
Good morning, Lisa. But I want to mention also is that my neighbor Colleen, of course, she has gotten me engaged with the Chrysler Museum. And about a week or so ago, we went to the Chrysler Museum and the many wonderful exhibits that they have at the Chrysler Museum. And I was especially intrigued by the work of Joyce J. Scott, who is out of Baltimore. And her beadwork. She used the peyote stitch beadworks, which is similar to the beadwork used by those in South Africa. And she has done some amazing bead pieces, wearable pieces, as well as display pieces. And each of her pieces tells a story. So yesterday, she was a part of the Creative Minds lecture at the Chrysler Museum, and she has such an amazing voice. So she's an entertainer, she is a storyteller, she's a sculptor, and she's a bead maker. And she told the story of how she got involved in doing what she does because her parents, who were croppers, sharecroppers, um, had been involved in quilting. And some of her mother's quilts also have been a part of the museum process. But she has such a powerful way of telling stories and sharing her creativity. Her beadwork is amazing. Each of her beads, as I said, it tells a story. You can see people, you can see events within the beadwork that she's doing. So if you ever get a chance to see the works of Joyce J. Scott, who is from Baltimore, please go and see her work. It's on display at the Chrysler Museum at this time. Her work is also in the museum in Baltimore. I can't remember the first name. I think his last name is Lewis, but it's an African American museum in Baltimore, of which her work is also uh, in uh, in display there, as well as numerous other museums across the country. So, if you ever get a chance to go and see the works of Joyce J. Scott, look her up. Look her up because her work is truly amazing. Amazing pieces. She told the story of how she sent a piece to Michelle Obama to wear, and she said, and she never got a reply. And so her first thought was that one of the folks in the kitchen wearing my necklace, cooking that food for them. But eventually, she did get a reply from Michelle Obama, and just beautiful, beautiful artwork. And she's just an amazing lady, a truly amazing lady who you will just find to be. She's the kind of person you want to sit down and have coffee with, and just let her talk, and you just sit there and you listen. She's an amazing storyteller, an amazing singer. But I was quite impressed. And so if you get a chance to go to the museum, please go to the Chrysler Museum and see the wonderful works that she has there in the Chrysler Museum. And there are also many other wonderful pieces in there. And they really have expanded on the works of African Americans within the Chrysler Museum. So if you get a chance, I truly encourage you to go to the Chrysler and see some of the wonderful works they have there.
Yeah, Leah, thanks for that because so often we miss out on the cultural events like that, and that's a part of our history too. Just like you mentioned, it goes back to South Africa, just like the quilt
Hmm.
that went back to slavery. It
That's
was
right.
something that was beautiful, but it also was telling a message that only the slaves could read
Exactly.
and identify with. And it's probably the same thing with those beads,
Hmm.
the
Hmm.
beadwork.
Hmm.
It was sending out messages that,
And her beadwork is very socially conscious, which in this day and time, when they're talking about ending DEI and anything dealing with culture, anything dealing with anyone's culture except the majority's culture, is they're making it obsolete. And it's a time when we have to keep those things alive. We have to keep those things before us, our stories. We need to tell our stories. Like she said, let your light shine. Tell your story. We have to continue telling our story. We cannot allow them to take away that story that we have, because our story is an impressive story. And right now, anything dealing with people of color, they want to take it out of the books. And it's up to us to make sure that we keep our stories alive.
Yeah, it's even amazing how, in getting to the national scene, how, and we know what they're doing with all coming out with all the crazy stuff and this distractions, and then underneath the surface, they're trying to do these little things, just like trying to erase Jackie Robinson's
Exactly.
military history, you know,
Oops. Oops. It was a mistake.
and when it came out, go ahead.
It becomes an oops moment. Oops, we made a mistake.
Oops, yeah, we didn't mean to do that. Yes,
We
you
didn't mean
did.
to do
You just got caught. And
that.
we're seeing a lot of evidence of that, and that's why it's so important. You know, you mentioning about the bead thing and the cultural thing and things that we should be aware of and that we should pass down to our youth to make sure, you know, the responsibility falls on us. You know, especially things that you can't control. You just do things that you can control at
Exactly,
the moment.
exactly.
And speaking of that, you know, with all the things going on, you know, I feel if it continues to go on because we even have people that, you know, now they're challenging the Supreme Court justices and
Yes,
all the federal court
yes.
judges who are lashing back, some of them that were appointed by them, you know,
Mm-hmm.
because it's getting to that point, you know, just like that last issue last week where they deporting people and they got a judge court order to turn the planes around and they just ignored it. You know,
Ignored it.
said, yeah, you know,
You know,
this, I'm
we're
not
gonna
going to
do
do
what
it,
the court
you
say.
know.
We're gonna do what we want to do, you know. So
Yeah, so it's going to have to come to a head. I want to play right now, you know, and these are some, and my source comes from Rachel Maddox, who is an excellent reporter on these issues. But she listened to some Trump voters out of Michigan uh, talk. And I'm gonna play just a little bit of that. You know, and this is not only in Michigan, and you see all the town hall meetings and where the Republicans are not even showing up, but the people are still showing up
mm-hmm,
and
mm-hmm.
talking to an empty chair, giving their displeasure. But here's
So by a show of fingers, who approves of what Elon Musk has been doing in the Trump administration? None of you. Who disapproves? All 7 of you. Uh, Cheryl, tell me why you disapprove of what Musk is doing.
Because he wasn't elected to do anything. Like I don't understand his position. It's a made up position that they made, department or whatever. And he's been going through with the sledgehammer, just actually dismantling everything with the approval of Trump. So I'm almost at the point where did he actually buy the election to do what he wanted to do? Like who's running our country? He was even in the Oval Office during a meeting with his kid on his neck. Like what? I feel like we are a reality show. America is. It's awful. It's awful. And we,
and that's just one of it was a panel of about 7 people, and all of them voted for Trump, and it was a mixture of black and white. And that last lady that was talking, she was African American, and it was some more, and maybe I'll get to it later. But you know, you even seeing the Trump, you know, and we told them so. You know, you're hearing a
Mm-hmm.
lot of that. But we're past. I told you so now. Now they're feeling the brunt of it, and uh, vocalizing their displeasure. You know, and this is all over the place. So, but he still has that core support. But I think it's going to implode at some point. You know, because people the polls are showing how people are against Musk. I mean, his stock is down on his Teslas,
Mm-hmm.
and people that have them are trading them in. Or people that have them that can't trade them in displeased with their cars. And everything is going to come to a head at some point because at some point, I don't think they're going to be able to explain everything away, or people are seeing through the distractions that they keep putting up, you know, the crazy
Mm-hmm.
things they're saying, and then trying to slide things under the radar of what they're actually doing. And it's coming out, and people are
Mm-hmm.
exposing some,
And,
some are just coming from them, from the inside.
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And yeah, they're beginning to feel it now, you know, and the people in the men's group seem to be out of touch with reality because many of them are billionaires. So they're really out of touch with the working day people. They don't know what the experiences are because for his person to come on TV and yesterday and say that if his 93-year-old mother-in-law did not get her
Yeah.
Social Security check, that she would not call and complain about it. She would just say, well, maybe there was a glitch, and she'll get it next month. However,
That's not reality.
she has a son-in-law who has $4 billion. She doesn't have to worry about if she gets her check or not. There are
Yeah.
other individuals who need that check to pay their rent, to buy their food, to pay for their medicine, and so you can't call them all a fraud. Yes, we do have some waste in government. However, how they've gone about identifying the waste is concerning, because they're not really looking at the waste. They're just eliminating people. They're
Yeah.
eliminating people and ending programs. So they have not done the due diligence to find out where the waste is. Most of the waste is in our military contracts. And then no one is addressing the military contracts. They show where Boeing had charged over 1,000 and some percent over the cost for a helicopter.
Mhm.
So that's the waste that they need to be looking at, not looking at programs to provide services to people's day-to-day lives. Everybody does not have the pleasure of having individuals in their family who are millionaires or billionaires. So yeah, they need to deal with the waste in government, but how they've gone about addressing the waste in government is a problem. They have not done any due diligence at all, none at all.
Yeah, as far as I can think back, I've always heard about the waste in government, about the government paying $500 for a hammer or
Right, right.
$300 for a screwdriver, and we've always heard that. So now, if they were going at it like you said, if they were going at that
Hmm.
we've heard over the years of the waste, we could go along with it. But
Yes,
it's a plan which is part of the 2025. It's a plan to get rid of people because you have
exactly.
to do that. People and programs in order to show up some money on the other end where you can institute those tax breaks and
Hmm.
everything
Hmm.
like that. So, and people don't think. I guess the people that support them just think that someone who's been a millionaire or rich all their life
Hmm.
cares anything about it. He doesn't even know how what people go through, that don't have. You know,
Exactly.
he's always been around, and he can say that, but he has no idea. So that's why he's heartless to
Hmm.
what he's doing, what he's trying to
Hmm.
do.
Hmm.
You know,
And talking about Social Security paying people who are 200 and 300 years old, he must think he's back in the days of Moses. No, nobody's living to be 200 or 300 years of age that they're paying Social Security to and calling it a Ponzi scheme. It's a Ponzi scheme when it's something that you have paid into all of your working life. You put money in there with the thought that you were going to get money back once you retire. Now, yeah, Social Security is probably now really they will experience some difficulties because of the number of people who are retiring, but there are ways to deal with that. There are ways to go in and deal with that. And it's not through letting people go, cutting off services. That's just not the way to do it. It's not the way to do it.
yeah, it's the same. Even people that are still working, but they reach the age where they receive their Social Security.
Mhm.
Once it starts coming in, you include that in your budget. I mean,
In your
it's a
budget.
part. So if that stops, it sort of alters, because it comes in. So okay, this comes in. This can pay for that, and I don't have to
Mhm.
worry about this can pay my mortgage, for
Mhm.
instance,
Mhm.
and I don't have
Mhm.
to worry about that. So it's already included in your budget and expenses and paying things. So even if you're working and you're receiving a check from your job, you're gonna feel that pinch too,
Oh yeah.
and
Yeah.
of course you have many people that they live on that alone, and they're
Mhm.
the people that that check stops 1 month, and
Gonna be-
yeah,
It's gonna
you
be
feel it.
it's gonna hurt a lot of people, you know.
A
And
lot of
and
people, a lot of
and
people
it's
that voted for them.
exactly. And the sad thing is that many of the things they're doing are really hurting people in the red states, the states that supported him. He's talking about defunding education, but most of the money goes to places like Mississippi, Arkansas, Texas. You know, they consume most of the educational dollars. Those folks in New York and California, they put the money in, but they don't get that money out. They don't get that much out of the services of the Department of Education. So, he's going to hurt a lot of people. He's going to hurt a lot of people who have children with special needs. It's just you know, it's just sad to see, like I said, the way they've gone about it. Like I said, if they had done a study to find out where the waste was and address the waste, they're not addressing waste, because you look at the monies that he saved hardly any money at all. Many of the money of the dollars he's claiming that he saved were from programs that Biden had stopped before they came into office. And he's counting that money in as money that they have saved the government. So they've not really saved the government much. And plus, Musk is getting billions and billions of dollars from the government. And he has yet to address any of those programs that are paying him those billions of dollars that he's getting for his companies. So where exactly is the waste? You know, is it just that as long as it doesn't touch my pockets, then it's waste. But once it touches my pockets, then it's another story, you know?
And I want people to be aware of this as well. You know, I saw in the news today that gas prices went down maybe a few cents, and they said it's cheaper now than it was last year this time. But I want people to be aware, because they're going to take that and try to spin it like what they're doing is the cause of that. If you go back and look at gas prices through several presidents, gas prices has always been up and down, regardless of who is president. So that's not a good gauge as to how the economy is doing. But they're going to try to spin that. And another thing, what they're going to try to do is put that, you know, like the 5,000 that they're saying that citizens might get. And once you start putting that out there in the atmosphere, then a lot of people, especially us, are that's gonna be the thing. We're gonna say, okay, he's giving me, I'm gonna get some money from him. And you know, just don't be fooled by all the distractions. You know, just really pay attention to the damaging things that they're doing, and watch the people that are really fighting him now. You see more of the senators and Congress people fighting back now. You know, we always had Crockett and others fighting back, but now you're seeing more going back to their districts and fighting back. You know, Democrats, where the Republicans are not having the town halls, and Democrats are taking advantage of that and going back to their districts and even talking to Republicans. So that's why I said when we started out, I think this thing is going to blow up in their face. We already see the displeasure. You know, you're going to always have the spin from Fox and his little group. And you mentioned the guy talking about the Social Security. If his grandmama, she wouldn't complain. You know, to see these people that are in place in these cabinet posts, you know, the comments that they make. You had one, I think he's Secretary of Commerce,
That's who it was.
doing a pitch for Tesla.
He's the same one who said that his 93-year-old mother-in-law would not complain. They
Yeah,
all
and
pitch for Tesla now because Tesla stock is down. People are turning the cars in. He's lost billions of dollars. It's amazing how you can use $100 billion and you still be a billionaire. Boy, that tells you something there. But he's really losing quite a bit of money behind what he's doing with this Doge, these young huckabucks that he's got, these 20-year-olds who are running in and taking over these agencies and not knowing really what the agencies do. You know, they're just coming in and turning stuff off, which is a horrible way to do business.
Yeah, I saw in one case they going into a government office and they brought armed guards with them to get into the place. And some of the federal judges are reversing that now and making them sort of walk that back. and you don't see it as much on the news as you see other things. But it's a lot of judges fighting back and winning in court,
Mm-hmm.
winning more than he is in court,
Mm-hmm.
and it's sort of downplayed, but uh, it's going to come to a head. I just have to keep saying that, and so people just will be aware and don't get discouraged to the point where they say, "Well, I'm not going to vote anymore," because we got some critical voting coming up this year, especially in the state of Virginia. You
Mm-hmm.
know, locally. I think all of our constitutional officers are up for election.
They
Am
are.
I correct?
They are.
The city treasurer, Commonwealth attorney, uh,
Sheriff.
Edmund Edmondson, and
Uh-huh.
clerk of court.
Commissioner of Revenue, the sheriff,
So
Commonwealth
we
attorney, they
don't.
all come up for election this year.
So we don't want, and all the delegates, right? All the delegates.
All of the members of the House of Delegates, as well as the governorship, it all
So
comes into play this year.
yeah, that's going to be an interesting race, the governorship. I mean, even with the two people that have declared running for governor, this Winston Sears
And
and this other guy that.
you ever hear anything from Winston Shears since they used her as to get into office? You haven't heard
Yeah,
anything. Absolutely
I
nothing.
guess he's gonna run the last 3 months of the year, something like that.
It's just amazing. I mean, she's done nothing. You've heard very little from her except holding a gun, holding a rifle. That's about all I can remember about Winston Sears the whole time she's been in office. To show that she's mega. Hey, I don't know. But it is going to be crucial times, folks, and you got to have your eyes open. You got to be aware of what's taking place. You have to participate in this election. This election is going to be crucial for us in Virginia. With the House of Delegates, Don and Louise, they've done an amazing job. Don has done an amazing job as the Speaker of the House, first Black in over 200 years to become Speaker of the House, and he's done an admirable job in promoting those things that are necessary for the city of Portsmouth, Chesapeake, and the surrounding cities. So it is important that we come out and support those individuals who are running for office during this crucial time coming up. So,
Yeah, he's a perfect example of how you can have some special interest, but you still can serve the whole state of Virginia.
exactly.
Of course, he's going to look out for the interests of Portsmouth, as well as the other cities throughout the state of Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes people are accused, you know, he and the senator of favoring this area,
Mm-hmm.
but they don't look at all the other votes that they make that concern Northern Virginia,
Exactly.
Mid Virginia, and the
Mhm.
Southeast Virginia. So it's all contested. Every person that's elected is going to look out for their constituent, their
Exactly.
area, because that's who puts them there.
Exactly.
So that's
That's
normal.
true. But it's amazing to see getting back on that national level, to see the bonding of Alexandria Ocasio and Bernie Sanders together.
Yeah,
They
isn't that
are
amazing?
making a major impact. Over 30,000 people came out recently to hear them. And the thing that I like is that Alexandria Ocasio is talking about common sense issues. She's using common sense issues to bring it to the people's mindset so that they can understand what's going on. And Bernie has always been a fighter. He's always been out there fighting, but to see the two of them and the crowds that they are drawing across the nation, and mostly in red states is where they're going, and they're drawing huge crowds to
Huge
come out
crowd.
to hear what they have to share.
And that's killing Trump, seeing
We
other
know
people
that.
draw crowds. And uh, watch, pretty soon he's going to go out on the trail, which is unusual for a president to have those kind of rallies. But he's going to see that, and he's going to want to go out there
you
and
know
do the
what?
same thing
But he,
because crowd size is important to him,
yeah, but he
as
may be
Obama
afraid.
said.
He may be afraid to, though, because with the actions taken by his administration, he may not be able to draw the crowds that he used to draw because a lot of those
Or it
people,
might get booed.
or he might get booed, and a lot of those people thought that Project 2025 was just something Democrats were talking about, and that is not something that he would truly do. And so now they're seeing Project 2025 come to fruition. All the things they spoke about that will take place should he become president, those things are happening now. And people are seeing those things happening. People are feeling from those things happening.
Yeah,
Um,
people that wrote sections of that plan
they are
in
part of his
leadership
administration.
positions
They are in his administration
in
now.
this administration. So
And when you let veterans go the way that they're letting these veterans go and cutting services for veterans, come on. These people have gone to war and paid the price to receive the services that they receive, and to see them cutting the services for our veterans, it's just, and they talk about how they love the military. You can't love the military and treat them the way that you're treating them at this time. You can't do it.
yeah, well, God don't like ugly, and
That's right.
He'll let this go on for a while and let them hang themselves
Mm-hmm.
because that's exactly what they're doing as they continue to go on. But they're gonna keep they're gonna be relentless in what they're doing. So we have to be just as we have to fight back.
Exactly.
Have to fight
Exactly.
back, and a lot of citizens be wondering, what can I do? Well, you can speak
Mhm.
up. You can speak up,
Speak
or
up.
you can speak through your representatives. Just
Call
like the
your
people are speaking back to their representatives that they don't want to hear it
That's right.
because
Call them. Send letters.
yeah.
Call them. Call the White House. Call them and tell them how displeased you are with what's taking place in this country.
Let me. How was the at the town hall that was held here with our three leaders, state leaders, and it was question and answer period there. So how was the climate of the crowd? Were the questions? How were the questions? It wasn't like the town halls we've been seeing on TV that were completely negative. I know it
Oh,
had to be some challenging questions as well.
yeah. Primarily, their concerns were about education and services. So well. The town hall was very well done. Um, the time allotted for question and answers went over very well. But they really pretty much shared some of the legislation that they have given to Governor Youngkins to sign. He has over 900 pieces that he has to sign by, I think it's March 25th, if I'm not mistaken. Um, but they're waiting now to see, because I know one was that every teacher would get $1,000. And then there are other monies that they put into education that would be beneficial for those who are teaching. So they talked quite a bit about the money put in for education. Of course, they talked about the tolls and toll relief and encouraging people to apply for the toll relief. And and they did mention something about if you had bills on the tolls, and I do forget where they say you can send that so you can get some relief from those bills that you receive. But they shared the information of all the legislation they put in that would be beneficial for the citizens. But just waiting now for Governor Youngkins to sign that bill. Now we also know that Mark Warner is going to have a town hall meeting coming up. I'm
The
trying
29th,
on the 29th, and that
and that's
is
that's
that's
Friday at 12, I believe, 12 noon, if I'm not mistaken. Trying to remember, I don't where it is.
I was trying to pull it up now,
Yeah,
but he's also having a town hall meeting. And people, you need to go to the town hall meetings if you want to find out just what your government is doing, what they are proposing. You need to be at those meetings so you can hear for yourself um, about what is taking place.
yeah, because the national news is the dominant news, and that's all we see. And you need to know what's going on in the state And just like when we talk to the representatives on city council, you need to go know what's going on locally because you're directly affected by that. Some of
Exactly.
the things that are happening on the national scene, sometimes it takes a little while for it to trickle down for us to feel, of course, be aware and pay attention to what's going on there. But things that are going on in the state, if you don't pay attention, some things could happen and directly affect you and you don't know about it, or some opportunities might be there for you and you don't know about it. It's like you mentioned about the toll relief, but it might be some other things that in those 8 or 900 bills he has to sign that you might be able to take advantage of, or you might
Exactly.
just need to be aware of because it might affect your daily living, your daily life. And the same thing with the local politics, city council and things like that.
Yeah.
And remember, we brought up the issue with the two ladies about, and we had a show before, if it was important to declare if you were Democrat or
Or
Republican.
Republican.
And you and I have been around the political scene for a while. At one time, that wasn't something that was brought up. Most people knew who was who, but it didn't really matter. But I think these days, sometimes that might matter,
Yes.
or if you know if they are of a certain party, there might be certain things you might want to ask them
Hmm.
before when they decide to run for office.
Especially in the light of what's happening nationally with the Republican Party. Before, we didn't feel it as much locally, but you are going to feel it now because if they're engaging with what they are proposing up in Washington, it's going to have a major impact on us as well here locally. So it's important to know who the people are who are running, if they have your best interest at heart. And don't take a lot of fluffy words that they may say. Get to the hard questions. Ask them the hard questions. Don't let them just tell you something to make you feel good. And you feel
Oh
good for
yeah,
the
give
moment.
a Martin Luther King quote or something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah. You feel good for the moment, and then they get into office, and you find out everything that you need has been taken away from you. It's too late then, so you need to do it now. But Mark Warner's program is Community Conversations featuring Mark Warner is on March 29th at 12:30 p.m. at First Baptist South Hill on
Okay,
Gulfberry Road in
that's
Chesapeake.
off Military Highway.
On
Yeah.
Military Highway, they're having the special guests will be Senator L. Louise Lucas and Delegate Cliff Hayes. So if you want more information, you can call 757-441-3079. And that is Community Conversations featuring U.S. Senator Mark Warner. And also, many of our constitutional officers also are planning kickoffs. So please be aware of those dates. I know Paige has a kickoff that is coming soon, Paige Cherry for treasurer. But just pay attention to the kickoff dates and go to these events and try to talk to these individuals to find out how they're going to meet your needs during these crucial times in which we're living in.
And especially you need to tell them as well, if you don't get an opportunity to see them any other time, go to these things and don't let it all just be a party. If you get a chance to talk to them, if it was some things that you weren't pleased with during his or her term, you need to let them know that.
Mhm.
Because if they're doing something that you're not pleased with and they don't know that you don't like it, they'll continue to do it. So
Exactly.
it's an
Exactly.
opportunity that you can have to actually talk to these people uh, during a time when you might not be able to reach them otherwise.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
take advantage of the opportunity.
Mhm.
Now, I know
Mhm.
most of them are fundraisers and it's a feel good event for a lot of people, but it just might be your opportunity. And or if you don't get a chance to talk to them, you just hear what they have to say, and
Exactly. Exactly.
and you can decide, if you want to keep them there. Often those offices go unchallenged, uh, but we'll see. we'll see what happens.
That's for sure. But something I was thinking about something just a minute ago when I it's left me, Slim, but it'll come back. Go ahead.
Of course, one of our frequent guests here, and it's actually Louis Bracy. If he was here, he would be asking these questions. He stole a question for us to ask Mark. Why won't he release what he knows about Trump Russian files? Okay.
Okay, Mr. Bracy.
Okay. Okay. You know, I guess that's a good question. Leah, you said those hard questions need
Ask
to.
the hard questions. Ask the hard questions. You need to ask the hard questions. Do your research. Do your
Yeah,
research,
and
and then you can ask those questions. You ask intelligent questions because you've done the research. And once you've done the
and
research,
I laughed, but Lewis sends me a lot of information, and the information he gets, you know, is pretty credible at times. And you know, he covers subjects that we don't think about or don't think to ask. And everybody asks the same questions about what
exactly.
we're concerned about, but there are some key issues that go unnoticed or go unasked. You know,
Hmm. Hmm.
and he said, you know, hold the feet to the fire. You know, and often we don't,
Often we
and
don't. Often
that's
we
true.
don't.
Often we don't.
You know, and as we are winding down, I must get off of the political scene and mention I'm so proud of NSU. Behold the green and gold.
Yeah,
They made it. They made it to the March Madness. They didn't win, but they put forth a good fight. The men and the women. They put
yeah.
forth a good fight, and I'm just so proud of the basketball players, the male and female basketball players. So behold the green and gold. I'm just
Yeah,
so
and
pleased.
all that's good for national exposure. You know, the
Exactly.
games were nationally televised, and you heard the commentators mentioning Norfolk State, and you know, people, anybody who didn't know about Norfolk State can knows about them now. The
Exactly.
little small college here in Virginia, and it
Hmm.
helped
And
enrollment.
and to put them against a top seed like Michigan. I mean, I mean Florida, I mean, you just going to but they put up a good fight. They did a great job. They did a great job, I must say. And James, also, I would like to mention, we know that Tyrone Hines has been a trailblazer in the city of Portsmouth, raising money for children, for scholarships, and just really just working so hard in the community. Tyrone is having a horseshoe tournament. If you had a chance to go out last year, I think you were out there, James, last year too.
Yeah,
It's
but
a
we
lot of
both
fun.
were.
They have the Charles W. Harrell Annual Scholarship Horseshoe Tournament. They have a lot of the local elected officials who come out and they form teams and they come out and play in the Horseshoe Tournament. And the tournament is at 10 a.m. on May 17th at the Bernard Griffin Park in Mount Hermon. So that is at 10 a.m. on May 17th at the Mount Hermon Center. Come out, if you want to form a team, get in touch with Tyrone or and Tyrone Hines if you want to be on a team, and as well as just come out and support this scholarship endeavor that's taking place by the Mount Hermon Civic League with Tyrone and Pat Hines championing the cause for the Charles W. Harrell Annual Scholarship Tournament.
Yeah, if you think you're good, go out there and test it out. It's some pretty. Last year was some pretty good horseshoe throwers out there,
Yes, they were.
and
Yes,
and,
they
and it
were.
was some that were they might have hit a few people that were watching. I don't know, but anyway, it's all in fun. It's all in fun, but and for a good cause. And if you
For a
haven't
good
been out
cause.
visited to Bernard Griffin Park over there in Mount Hermon, it is a place to go and visit the basketball court, the horseshoe. I don't know if they pits, I think they call it,
Yeah.
and you can have picnics and things out there. It's a great place for the community as well as the whole city. And I'd like to send out condolences to George Bell, the family of George Bell, who
Yes.
passed away. He was 67, I believe. And
Yes.
as a matter of fact, he was 7 feet 8 inches tall,
Yes.
tallest man in America, in the country, and maybe in the world, maybe third or fourth. I think because there's some people that's 8 feet tall in the world, but he was 7'8". Can you imagine that? From born and raised in the city of Portsmouth, went to Wilson High School, played
Mhm.
basketball, played with the Globetrotters,
Mhm.
and was the deputy sheriff in the city of
Yep. Of
Norfolk.
course.
Now,
I
can you
tell you what.
imagine?
Mhm.
Yeah,
And
city of
and
Norfolk.
worked
Can
at the
you
Pines.
imagine?
And worked at the Pines Residential Treatment Center.
Did he? I can.
Mhm.
Can you imagine? And you probably, if you're an inmate and this first time going in there, and this guy 7 foot 8 inches is the deputy that you have to deal with. Talk about scared straight.
Mhm.
But anyway, he was a good guy and was on a national TV program and represented Portsmouth well. I wish Portsmouth had kind of used him a little bit more as far as having someone that like that was born and raised in your city. When you think we'll get the next 7'8" guy
It's
from the
gonna
city
be.
of Portsmouth, it might be a while.
It may be a little while. A little while.
But anyway, we're gonna miss his presence. He wasn't living here; he had moved away. But when he was here, I remember working in Mid City in the store in Mid City, and when he walked by, all you saw was his chest
Mhm.
walking by. Didn't even see his head; just saw, and it was amazing. So George Bell. And the last thing I want to say, and we've mentioned this a lot, that pay attention to our student athletes in the city of Portsmouth as we talk about education and the funds. The It's amazing how they can play the sports, one sport, two or three sports, and maintain a 4 point something average or
Mm.
3 point,
Yes.
way above what the minimum average is for them to actually be qualified to play.
Mhm.
And we don't often mention that, how studious these student athletes are.
Exactly.
You know,
Exactly.
doing it in the classroom and on the court or on the field, it's just amazing. So any way we can support them by our presence to their games, the track and everything, we need to do that. And hopefully some of that money that Senator Lucas mentioned that's going to education will also go towards our athletes, you know,
Mhm.
and the fields in all our schools and everything like that. So
Right. Right.
I just appreciate that.
I agree. I agree.
You agree? Okay.
Well,
Oh, well, thanks everybody for watching, and we appreciate you hanging in there as we talked about different topics today. It comes up, but as we mentioned earlier, make sure you tune in. Uh, Let me put another Lewis's. And Lewis mentioned, let me say this, he mentioned, you mentioned about Norfolk State playing against Maryland, especially the girls played Maryland, and how the fans traveled there. And he said he was
mhm.
at the game. He was at the game
Mhm.
because he lives in Maryland. And the fans really traveled to support the team. So that was a good thing. So anyway, like I said, remember next week, please join us as we have the new first time elected school board members, three of them that will be our guests here on Portsmouth Coffee Talk podcast. We appreciate
Okay.
you. And any
Thank
last words, Leah?
No, just thank you for watching. Thank you for coming back to listen. Don't forget to go to our YouTube page and like and subscribe from our YouTube page. We need your subscriptions. And just you can go back and look at all the old shows that have been on. So if you had a favorite, go back and look at it again. But once again, we want to thank you for your loyalty over how many years, James?
Oh, I lost count. I was at 5 one time, and
Yes. So
it's been a few years since that. So
yeah.
we've
So
been doing this for a while. We
yeah, we
started
just
doing
thank you.
actually during the pandemic, didn't we?
Yes. Yes. We
That's
thank.
when we actually went virtual
Uh-huh.
because I was doing the radio, and you were guest a few times
Right.
in the
Right.
radio, coming to the station at 6 o'clock in the morning. And
Amen.
then the pandemic hit, and we created Portsmouth Coffee Talk
Mm-hmm.
with the help of some other people, and
Yes.
here we are. I mean, we're
Here we
still
are.
here. We're
We
still
still
here,
say thank you.
and looking
Thank you
forward
so very much.
to continuing having great guests on. And if you want to be a guest, please contact us. If you have something you want to talk about or share with the public, especially if it's health related, if it's financial related, whatever it is,
Mm-hmm.
So we're gonna let Leah go now. She's yawning. I don't know if she
I gotta go to
needs to
work.
take a
I gotta
nap,
go
but
to
she
work.
has to go to work.
I gotta go to work. So
She go to work and go to sleep there.
how about that? Y'all
Just
have a
joking.
great
I
day.
hope you didn't hear that, Sheriff Moore.
How about that?
Anyway, have a great day. And Portsmouth
Have
Coffee Talk is here for our voice, our
our
community,
community.
and our future.
There you go. You have it.
Got it
Thank you
right.
so very much.
Take care,
Okay.
everybody.
Bye-bye.
And when we come back, the Colonel will be back with us.
Be our guest.